Hey everyone, welcome back. Bob Trucker here for episode 14 of Trucking Story. Let's get moving along. So here in the job market, we're starting to see what we've been talking about for a while, that we're going to basically see a lot of repetition as we kind of move our XP up as quickly as possible. So, same commodity, the boat, same two locations we've done before, Port Angeles to Artesia. Our big difference today on episode 14 is we are operating on our new PC. So we've got everything maxed out. We've got everything ready to go here. Just take a quick look. There's our boat. But yeah, the big news is, as I said, we've got the new PC and everything's set to the highest levels, and you can see that immediately the quality is significantly different. I'm going to have to put this other mirror up because that's going to be too much of a challenge. And more importantly, I was going to say I didn't clear that enough. So let's back this up. Yeah, more importantly, I am pretty sure, at least with the testing I've done at various... Goodness gracious. This is just not working. So... Alright, I think we're now hitting the front fence. Sorry about all that. I was just trying to figure out how to get free there. I'm hopeful that this will go quicker because we're not going to have all the delays we did before. But it is pretty amazing. I mean, I was expecting a significant difference, and that we do have. So we'll talk about that obviously a bit here as we get going, and I'm just trying to focus on getting us on the road, and then we'll go from there. So you'll be able to see, like, you can see that Port Angeles sign. Just everything is
go straight on.
Actually readable, which I didn't realize how much a difference the system setup made, which sounds absolutely stupid on the surface. Is like, well, clearly if you have better graphics and so forth, you're going to see things, but the difference is substantial. And I was thinking, well, maybe they haven't modeled road signs that well or in enough detail, and that's why I'm not seeing anything. Wow, that looks like they dropped a bunch of wood over there. Pretty crazy. But you'll start to see, especially once we get on the interstate, but there you go. Welcome, large clean rooms, fridge, microwave. Things are actually readable, including, most importantly, the dashboard. So, you're able to function very, very differently with everything turned up. So, for those of you on a high-end PC, you're probably laughing at me as you watch this. Like, well, of course, that's why we've been playing games like this on those, Bob Trucker. But for me, it's a new experience. And so, yeah, I've had the machine. It came in a little bit earlier than expected. And I've actually been testing it out and getting used to it for the last week or so. So it's been a little bit of time before we obviously have reconnected here on the next episode of Trucking Story. So there you go. Come again. I don't know that I ever realized there was that kind of a sign there. But you'll see, the vegetation, the shadows, more importantly, just the flow of the game. So I have not driven anything long here. I did start a new profile on the new PC using some mods and so forth, and obviously this is just basically a scenery modded profile. And so, short story is I haven't run anything lengthy because I started a new profile. And obviously, as you know, you've got short runs to begin with, and I'm only like 3 or 4 runs in, so I haven't been able to do this area of the country. And so those areas like Boise and so forth that we tend to have graphics issues in,
Right.
I'm imagining are going to be a thing of the past, which was certainly the hope. So you can see some of the signs there. Crisp, clean, very easy to read. So I will say, and you can see the phone lines, first time we've had those, look like phone lines as opposed to little jagged lines like we've had in the past. Same thing with the shadows here on the ground. You can see they're lines, not jagged. And so we'll kind of move into, so what did I get? I bought a Dell G series, which is their gaming series. A G5 is what was available. Again, it's not as if I've been tracking the gaming PC market much, so I don't know, was there a G4? Is there going to be a G6? I'm assuming there will be, but perhaps not. Maybe their gaming series has always been called that. For those familiar with Dell, there is also their Alienware series is kind of what they're known for more with gamers. And that's really the high-end machines that are liquid cooled. Things that I just determined I certainly don't need because ATS is not a CPU intensive game. It's not a first-person shooter and things like that, and that's not something I normally do on my PC. If I do that, I do it on my console. So there wasn't a need for, hey, I want to overclock this and so forth. And so I was able to get other things that I think were more important, like the RAM on the machine. Video cards, the markup was probably the same, but because the base PC had started higher, that overall price was higher. So that is why I didn't go with an Alienware, as I just didn't feel I really needed that, nor would I at any point in time. I was going to say anytime soon, but I don't think that's going to happen at any point. So yeah, there's still a little bit of that you can see on the bridge. I don't know if you noticed it, just as that renders kind of a weird effect, but it doesn't stay poor as you come up on it. Obviously, as you saw, the bridge was very clear. The shadows, the way the light bounces, it's going to be harder to see on this Western Star truck, given how far forward we are and how little of the side windows we can see. But there's also a lot more reflection that is currently shown, and we'll start getting reflections on the windows like you do when you drive, when the light hits it just right. So it's definitely, it was startling to begin with, because I thought, like, what's that over on the left? And then I realized it was the reflection of the store as I was driving through town in my window. So, all right. So we're getting ready here, heading to Aberdeen, which we can see on our beautifully visible signs now. And if you recall, because I think we ran something very similar to this, we did Port Artesia to Socorro with a boat just last episode. Even coming up around that turn in the past had been something that the PC was just having difficulty churning through. So going back, I've got a G5 with the latest processor, which is I think a 2.8 gigahertz 10th generation i9, I believe. I'm really sorry, I should have gotten the details specifically.
Keep right.
But it was a
And then
machine
exit
that
right.
ended up before discounts and so forth, because they did give me some discounts. Would have
Exit
been
right.
between $2,500 and $3,000. So it was expensive by PC terms, but certainly hardcore gamers would tell you that's nothing. They're likely above 3,000 and could be pushing significantly higher depending on what they're doing. So the behavior of the AI unfortunately hasn't changed on the new PC, so I had to dive out as he just suddenly decided he was going to nearly stop, and just didn't want to deal with that. So there you go. You got the exit sign. You can see gas lodging. Definitely things that I certainly was not able to clearly see prior to that, but you can see just the play of the light even on the sign. That upper corner you could see that was lit up with sun, the rest was shadow. And so now that we're out on the open road, you can definitely see just your view significantly further out. Same thing in the rear view mirror. Things don't necessarily disappear quite as quickly. It's still set. I think the default that it gave me on Ultra was medium compared to low, which was what it was when I was running on high on the old machine. I haven't changed it to high or ultra, which is a setting on the mirror, and kept it there. I tested that. Honestly, the computer was able to handle it. It was fine, but it was one of those I'm not looking in the rear view that often, and even extending it a bit. Because the other thing, although that bridge did kind of fade away, I was going to say there were pieces that just kind of seemed to get wiped off the screen. And here, like, the trees are just popping away, but I think that's, now that I think about it, just because they're trees. So, the bridge, for example, in the rear view was one that just got wiped. So let's kind of look at that and see, as opposed to, I guess it's still just a smoother wipe now because the PC is actually keeping up with things and doing, able to achieve a higher frame rate. So on that, the difference, for example, is I was able to get about 20 frames per second, best case, in the settings we had on my old computer. And this is running at 60, which I think is the highest frame rate the game can generate. And honestly, all you would need, a train going by under us there, I think. Oh, good, he's doing it again. I get that they're being cautious. Hey, I'm merging with traffic, but it's just irritating when you're trying to move with them and then suddenly they're significantly slowing down. Alright, so going back to the PC, so I have 32 gig of RAM, which is substantially higher. I think their recommendation is for recommended, not minimum, is 6. So even if I, and I had 8 on the old machine, so initially, and that's kind of where I was starting when I was looking at the Alienware. That was some of the differences. So at 16 gig of RAM, that was about the most I could do on the Alienware without getting insanely expensive. But going with the G5, I was able to do the 32 gig and still come in underneath what I would have with a actually, not significantly lower, but a lower setup. And then I've got an NVIDIA, I think it's a GTX 370 series with 8 gig of VRAM on the video card. So again, the recommended setting on the video card is 2 gig, which is what I did have on my old machine with the older NVIDIA card that I had there. But this is a step up of 4 times as much both RAM and video RAM in this machine, and you can definitely see the results here. So welcome to Oregon. So we're already there. Exit 24. Again, those are things I did sometimes try to see. Which exit number am I on? Because for those not familiar with the U.S. interstate system, the exit numbers at this point are all the miles. So now you can see it's exit 22 for the Dales.
Keep right.
And so when we get to 0, we're basically at a border. Now we're getting off, so the mileage may change. But that's how you can tell when you're driving, certainly as the exit numbers are going down. When you get to 0, you're going to hit a state border, and then you're going to start over.
Keep left.
Obviously going in the opposite direction, it's a little more difficult because you can't, unless you know how many miles the city or the state is, is it going to be 350? Is it going to be 250? Is it going to be 500 before I get to the point where I can get to another state border? So it's not as helpful going the other way, but going this way, which is normally south and east, you will be able to tell when you're going to be done. So that last one was exit 17. So in theory, in 17 miles, which won't be very far. Oh wow, I haven't certainly gone through this tunnel, as I said. That's pretty impressive, all decked out. You can see the individual stones. It's pretty nice on a new PC, so if you can afford it, I certainly highly recommend it because the experience is pretty different. I didn't realize I hadn't turned off my in-dash GPS, but that is another thing that I could certainly utilize now much easier because it's a lot more visible with the improved graphics. And we do get to bypass that way station for the first time. Look at that. Discover this road. We knew it would happen. Oh boy. Alright, well, this time the AI actually behaved properly. I was worried he was going to start to merge and I couldn't move over to the left. So, but we got to bypass the way station. I'm trying to think. Yeah, the hard drives, that's the only thing of significance that we haven't covered. So the configuration I got has a 1 terabyte solid state drive. For those who aren't tech savvy, solid state drives basically are memory chips. They don't have physical moving parts, so they're not a mechanical hard drive like we've had for decades in the PC world, where if you've ever seen anyone or videos of someone taking apart a hard drive or looking at it, where you have platters and then you have the set of arms that move back and forth very, very quickly to be able to read all over the surfaces of the disk. Solid state drive has none of that. So because there's no physical movement, you get a few benefits. Speed is significantly increased. So for example, this machine, the startup of anything, just starting up the machine, period, but even going into the game, for example, on the old machine, when I fired up ATS, by the time the title screen loaded and I got into the main menu and then selected the profile and got into the point where I typically start these videos, minutes, certainly, absolutely minutes. 2 minutes, a minute, 2 minutes. I never really timed it, but it took a while. This is literally seconds. I can start up ATS, other than there's some graphics of the SCS logo and then American Truck Simulator that are just part of how the game loads. So those just run at the speed they run. So those were the same once they came up on most machines, although on the old machine, even those would sometimes stutter. So there's time there, probably a good 10 seconds or so. But then you're into the profile, you select the profile, and once again, it signs into World of Trucks, which can take a little bit of time on the old machine, and then eventually it gets you to your garage area that we start in. And, that's literally probably 5 seconds on this machine. So all told, I'm in 20 seconds maybe. It might be faster than that, but that's probably realistic. But either way, you can see the magnitude of difference. And I think even right now, this is a good example. I certainly know that bridge, this area, it wasn't as easy to tell that, hey, those are basically pieces of wheat on there. But that bridge with all this traffic on the old PC, I think you guys painfully recall what the videos were like and what the experience was like. I've got a little bobcat or something getting hauled behind a car there. Maybe he's borrowed it from, I think that might be the Home Depot logo. I'm like, yeah, no, it's just a orange thing. I'm not sure if I'm clear of this car on the left. I'm gonna do a little trick. There we go. Scare them a little bit, and then they freak out and back off. But I just really want to get out of this traffic. It's insane, because I can go, I can go 70 here, and I'm being forced to go, 58 or whatever, because both lanes are taken up. But anyway, what I was saying is we would have absolutely had graphics issues. Oh, I'm glad I saw him, because that's not actually a bobcat. It's a little backhoe, little digger. So he's probably doing some trenching in his yard, maybe burying a pipe, or who knows. Come on, bus. Either move over or get out of my way. And as soon as I go to the right, if I get clearance, there's my horn, but the bus is going to be like, yeah, I'm not listening to you because I'm not a human and I can't hear you because I have no ears. God, this is irritating. Because, yeah, what's going to happen is I'm going to move over and then he's going to dive over and he's going to hit me. Alright, well, thank God he didn't, but because I was like, and that is going to be irritating. But we're okay. Alright, so we're getting to the evening here. I guess I could have pulled into that rest area, but anyway. Too late. So, yeah, and you can see all the high tension power lines off to the right, the towers. Just again, you'd probably have to go back and look at an old video, but just the difference in the rendering. You can see the lights clearly to warn the planes working quite well. So yeah, between the new lighting engine that obviously we had just gotten with the 1.4 upgrade of ATS and hardware that can take full advantage of everything that the developers put into the game, you can see this is pretty cool. As things start to go down, you can see my blinkers in the mirror, kind of giving that diffusion off to the left. it definitely helps when you're changing lanes in the dark, because you can see that rear tail light blinking and know, yeah, it's blinking on the road in front of the car, so I'm safe to move over. Where before you could see it blinking, probably because I wasn't able to run on Ultra. The diffusion on the road wasn't happening, but now with the lighting engine, the diffusion just looks a lot more realistic, and that kind of glow around the street lights. I'm not sure that the flicker that we're seeing is really built into the game or just a matter of how it's rendering as we get closer and closer, so I may be giving them a little more credit there than is due. But we're coming up on Pendleton. Alright, there we have gas. Come on, there's got to be gas and a rest stop together. That would really be irritating, but I'm going to get off and take a chance here. And at least get some easy gas, but yeah, there is not. I cannot rest there. Wow.
Keep left and then continue straight on.
It's disappointing, so.
Go straight on.
But yeah, I'll get back on and then probably we'll go to the rest area there and we'll rest, but rather than go to the other side of the interstate, which is going to take a while to get over and so forth, so. Alright, but this way we're topped off, and we'll be good to go. So the other thing at this point with Ultra, pedestrians are turned on, so you can see that guy standing over there in front of the little mini mart or whatever that is. We might be able to read the sign. The market. Oh, that's not a guy, that's just a bear statue. Never mind. Well, pedestrians are turned on, so we will see people at various places, where before in the old profile we were not seeing any people. So let's see.
Recomputing.
Yes, we are. So, but yeah, rather than drive all the way over, because you can see how the road goes to get to the place I can rest, that would take a bit. I'd have to go up the road, turn left again. Yes, I'd get some new discoverable road. I better turn on my lights, because otherwise I'm going to get a headlight offense at some point. And again, some of the things haven't changed, where it is hard to tell until it is kind of almost fully dark like this, that you don't have your headlights on as easily as you were able to tell, say at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. certainly, with the old lighting engine. So, and yeah, now you can start to see kind of how the lighting works. That those billboards are reflecting significantly more. There's definitely things I've noticed where on the left side, on more the 2-lane roads that we'll hit a little bit later. And again, since we're trying to drive mainly during the day, just so you guys at least can see some scenery while we go along. Forgot. Still, again, the game does not change the fact that if I'm driving like a bat out of hell, I'm going to have a little bit of a problem. So let me slow down to 50. I think I'll be okay with that, but I'm going to pull into this rest area up here anyway. So I definitely don't want to be. Alright, yeah, I'm actually going to tuck in behind him here, because I don't think I'm going to get past him before. You can see the lights up in the distance off on the ridge, the rest area, which is pretty nice. I'm pretty sure that was not something we could do or see easily with the old one.
Go straight on.
Alright, there we go. I was trying to figure out, since it was just a viewpoint, like how many spaces are we going to have here to rest. But alright, so we'll rest here, and again, you can having played for months on my old PC, I notice little things there, like even hitting enter and how the time flows. Like that was very smooth. On the old PC, there was even a little bit of a stutter there, just in how that processed it. So, all I can say is it is significantly different, which I think just even watching and riding along, you can tell. But, I was giddy with excitement is probably not over-expressing my enthusiasm after I ran a run or two on the new PC. And, I was telling my wife, I'm like, I knew it would be better, but it's like magnitudes better than I would have expected. Because, and that is a little bit of a credit, certainly, to the SCS folks, because, what they were able to do. My experience was enjoyable on the old machine. It was irritating to have some of the things that, took you out of the realism in essence, because, you're suddenly stuttering, where obviously in the real world, you don't act like you're in a computer and suddenly, the world around you starts freezing or, just taking jumps because, it's skipping frames. That obviously isn't happening. The hubcaps on the car, for example, like you can see the wheel rotation. And obviously, he's going to pass us, so you might be able to catch it now. So see, you can actually tell, like, as when you're driving, like the wheels will do that and, suddenly go forward, go backward. So it's pretty cool that SCS did that kind of detail in the game to really add realism. And just the ability of these simulation games to accept mods and so forth, because once again, the traffic in total, the cars, the trucks, again, those are mods that I do have to give more realistic trucks and more variation to the cars, because as I said, I think the game comes with 20 or 30 vehicles in the car pack, and then obviously you don't have real company names and so forth. I can speed up again now that I'm like, why are they going by me so fast? But that's because we're done with all the crazy turns and we can move along. But the fact that the mods, I'm sure those aren't stock cars that somehow, hey, their hubcaps move on. Those were part of the mod pack, but the modeler was able to model the hubcaps, and then SCS, through how they've wrote the engine, still can get that realistic movement regardless of the hubcap shape and so forth. So shape's probably a wrong term, because they're obviously all round circles because they're on tires that roll on a road, but it's more the configuration. Does it have a ton of spokes like that one did? Is it solid? But you can see as we now start to pass folks how that reality, and in the truck wheels with all the lug nuts and so forth, just a lot of good quality and how things work. We're probably not going to get to skip this way station. See if we'll pass this Pepsi double. Oh boy, we're going to have to dive in if we have to go. So this is going to get ugly. Yep, alright. Well, not as ugly as I was worried it would be. Oh, that truck just popped in on the other side, but as you noticed, we didn't have to. Oh, we've not pulled into this. This is just a good one for getting these last few tiny discoverables on these roads that we've hit quite a bit. So a little over 50,000 pounds. A couple of our fellow drivers resting over here. Let's change our signal. Shell fuel truck going by. All right, thank you, sir, for backing off, seeing my turn signal, letting me in. people up here in the Pacific Northwest are so friendly, That would be, again, something I'm sure they'll never do, but would be kind of funny if, as we move east and you start getting to some, you're driving in New York City or Chicago or something. Obviously you have LA here, but they do have in the game already, but, just have them be much more aggressive and, have some road rage incidents or something. But again, that's a lot of work. Doesn't really add to the point of the game, and especially like the road rage part would be a little bit controversial for folks. Like, hey, I don't want some guy chasing me down and shooting at me in LA, for example, just because he thinks I cut him off or something. But so we are coming up on our first significant problem area that we had with the old configuration. Whoops, crossing that line a bit, I'm going to end up having an accident if I'm not careful. So yeah, we're Baker City, exit 304. So again, we do know that in the direction we're going, that the miles are going down. Hey, Mr. Police Officer, facing the other way. Although I think in the game here, he'll give me a ticket on this side anyway. Now, Cement Plant Road, we were able to read that before, but you can just see kind of the scrub on top of that hill. Just a lot of things that I'm sure we're there to some degree, but we're just not as easily identifiable and as easy to tell with the lower graphics rate and the lower frame rate. So hope you're enjoying this improvement. Obviously, as we go forward in the series, it'll also certainly, I assume, improve the experience. So the other main thing that I'm going to be curious about is the time this really turns into, because this is really going to be close in distance and almost exactly the same path we took in episode 13, which was on the old machine, and this one. And that video was, I think, 2 hours and 4 minutes. And, we're going to see what we clock in here at the end. But we may shave off significant amounts of time as well. So, but if nothing else, I'm hoping this makes it significantly more enjoyable to watch for various reasons, that you just don't have that unreality of the graphics, stutter, and just the quality of the graphics in general. So switching then, now that we've gone over the hardware, the physical hardware change, so what are the settings in the game as on the graphics side now? So as I said, the first step was just simply going from high to ultra, which is the highest level the game can be set at. But what I have done is I've actually turned up several things even higher than that. So when you do the simple settings, which basically, if you recall, is kind of like a gradient bar that gets taller and a little more, I think, red as you move over. But either way, the colors change too, and you fill more of the entire bar, the more graphics you use just as a visual representation. But then when you go to the individual settings to make changes, if you recall the first setting, scaling, that I mentioned, which has, in my testing on the old machine, the most significant impact, and also I think is what accounts for the phone lines that we just went under, what they look like. Goodness gracious, I love when that happens. Sorry about that. Alright. Just like in real life, but there was a little bit of a hiccup there. I am surprised. So, but I've got the scaling up at 400%, which is the highest setting you can have in the game. And I think for like fences, like on the overpass, as I was playing with the setting of either leaving it at 125 or moving it up, that's where I started to notice things. And certainly, the power lines, because at 125, that was really, I think the default setting on high as well for scaling. But I had lowered it to 100 on the old machine just because I didn't notice a significant difference visually, but there was a significant difference in the effect of the gameplay, and so forth. So that is set to the highest setting, which is even higher than they do put it on just when you select Ultra. And then there's drop downs that you'll see in the graphics area. Really, like you pulled over to the left and now you're slowing down. The drivers in this this episode are just gonna drive me a little batty. But anyway. Oh, there's a plane coming in over in the sky on the right. Oh, here's our famous Nampa water tower. So as you know, we are definitely, at this point, would be smack dab in the center of significant video issues. So even though we did have one little, second, if even, I mean, it was a fraction of a second, honestly, because I noticed it, but it's possible, unless you go back and rewatch the video, you may have missed it. But yeah, this would have been the stretch that gave us significant problems. And, knock on wood right now, as I would expect, and was the hope with going ahead and investing in the new hardware, just to increase my enjoyment of the experience. Smooth as butter for the most part here, so very pleased. So, we've got here all the way down through Utah into Price, which were the main problems. We'll see once again, because I'm pretty sure it'll take us that way. That exit at Price, where if you remember, we go up and kind of goes to the right, but then it's a sweeping curve to the left, which then has a traffic light right there that many times was not rendered by the time even we made the turn to the right. And I'm guessing it'll be there, as we're coming up the ramp. So, but we'll see when we get near Price what we're looking at. Still a little ways to go, but yeah, we're just about, through Idaho, and once we get past that, we will, we're going to be in states where we can go 80. This just got us up to 70, so, we get an additional 5 miles an hour or so. But we'll be moving along at a pretty good clip then, and as I said, our next biggest quote-unquote discoverable in our experience here is how long is it going to take us to make this run in real time in the length of this video because of the new hardware, and then basically, frankly, just eliminating the graphics difficulties, because at that point we're really going to be able to see what the delays that sometimes were not that significant individually added. In the one video where obviously I had significant problems, which I think was video 8, episode 8, I'm pretty sure we added 15 minutes based on the problems we were having. And those were, if you recall, there were times we were sitting there, I think we were waiting for a minute to move again at one point, the worst case we had. And that added 15 minutes. I would not be surprised that we have at least that much savings here. So it's going to be pretty substantial and kind of a pretty vivid example if you live through episode 8 and actually just didn't get fed up and get to the end and see, what our result was and whatever, and just fast forward through the crazy graphics problems we were having. But if you sat through that and then realized, wow, it was a shorter distance because we were just, I think, going from Albuquerque. I think it was 1,300 miles instead of this one being a little over, I think it's 1,747 miles is what this run is. So I think it was like 400 miles shorter. But I think, and we could have had that video be 15 minutes less, so basically be an hour and 45. And we may be at that or below that simply because of a hardware difference and the time it eliminates from the small stutters. And so I think we'll see those small stutters may have added up to a significantly longer time than was perceived as we were going through them, kind of one at a time. The death of 1,000 cuts thing that is used as an example, but the death of 1,000 stutters in the video, and that those 1,000 stutters we experienced over a 2-hour video may have really added up to 15 or 20 minutes. But because we're at about we're 45, 46 minutes at this point. So it's hard to tell because we're still in Idaho, exit 173. Now again, I don't know that we're going to get all the way there because if you recall, to head down once we get here past Twin Falls, we're going to get on another interstate and head south. So we probably have a different distance than that 173 is telling us because we don't stay on this road all the way out of Idaho. We exit here shortly and head south and start going down through Utah and corner of Colorado and so forth. So, but we'll see where we end up. But we'll be able to start moving at 85 pretty soon, and all in all, we'll be hauling. Oh, news truck. Yeah, Channel 10, NBC 10. That's pretty cool. Again, I don't know that I've ever seen that before. Is that because I've never actually passed it and it's never been pulled up in the game, or graphics-wise that it's just not really render enough that I could tell what I was looking at far enough ahead to have it catch my attention? I don't know. Alright, so there we go. Oh no, this is the first exit to Pocatello, so this is actually not where we exit. Yeah, there we go, down to Ogden. Well, maybe we'll stay the same, because I think 84 is what we've been on, and that's what actually exits
Keep
here.
right, and then exit right.
So, I guess we'll see, because I don't see the little exit.
Exit right.
Whoop, I'm going to be bad here. Just to not slow down. So, I didn't realize he was getting off until I would either have to slam on my brakes or do what I did. I'm going to have to exit here, yep. So yeah, with our luck, he'll not have to stop and he'll pass us here, and then we'll have to pass him again, but that's alright. So, way station rest area. It's just fascinating to be able to see the signs.
Straight on.
Now, yeah, the scale's up here, I think. Alright. So the good news is it looks like this guy is going to just get the wave through for theoretically being empty. But more importantly, we can just pull up and go, and then, we'll still have to pull in. So there we go, 50,225. It was 50,663 before. So this kind of goes, we talked in a previous episode about the weights do change, and that in reality, you'd be looking at, hey, I've burned off some fuel, which is certainly the case here. So the thing I haven't noticed is, do they consistently go down? So we'll see. I'm paying a little more attention this time where I was remembering the exact numbers. So, but yeah, we dropped a little over 400 pounds, which might be realistic for the distance we've traveled and, the fuel we would have burned off. Because, I think I've read, liquid, and I assume it's honestly different, but I think they were saying like milk is like 10 pounds a gallon or something. So that, if you have 40 gallons, you're talking about 400 pounds. So I kind of just use that as a liquid weight in general. Again, that may be inaccurate, but going that route, if we've burned off, say, 450 gallons, which could be about right, because that's about 200, and we usually get 5 or 6 miles to the gallon in a loaded truck. If you look at the MPG on the game, again, I don't know on this truck where it has it. Is it there? Here you go. Trip MPG 5.8, I believe is what that says. Again, something I certainly couldn't read in the old graphics, but here I can at least have a shot at making it out. Looks like we're 89 degrees too, so it's pretty toasty out there at 3 in the afternoon, so we're probably at the heat of the day. Getting close to it for sure. But now again, worrying about the temperature, I completely forgot what I was talking about, so sorry for that. But yeah, I do not recall. So anyway, here we go, getting to Utah. And definitely much clearer view of that sign than I've ever had. So, and we can go 10 miles an hour faster. So even better. So yeah, we'll see how things go. Oh, we were talking about the fuel weight. So yeah, so given that we're at 5.8 miles per gallon or so, if we round up to 6 or so, 40 gallons, 240 miles, it's probably about accurate to how far we went. So maybe it does kind of do a, hey, you would have used this. Obviously the system knows when you're filling up, like how many gallons it's putting in your tank and so forth. So there's obviously an algorithm operating somewhere as we're driving to consume that fuel and get us to empty at the appropriate time. So you could obviously take advantage of that in the weigh station and say, hey, I burned off 40 gallons. Let's take off X pounds in weight for that. So, but we'll see if we get, another weigh station before we fuel up, because I think we're going to stop and fuel again at night here. We've got it's theoretically 7 hours if we wanted till we have to stop, but I'll probably stop a little bit earlier just to not drive so far into the dark. And again, give you guys a daylight run when things are a little bit easier to see. Thing I did notice at night here with the graphics is you do see some more than you had as well with the old graphics setup. So, but yeah, these bridges here definitely, between this location. All right, well, we do have a police officer and we have a weigh station, so he's not going to make us stop, but all right. But I don't want to get flagged because the speed went down to 70. So I think that's just because we're near this port of entry. I think once we go along, so Yeah, the exit to Cheyennes, which is in Wyoming,
Keep left.
which is in theory coming. So yeah, I don't recall the other experience I've been able to have, I think, since we've been together last, is I've gone ahead, I've been having my eye on it from SCS for a while. They had put up a demo of Euro Truck Simulator 2 a little while ago, similar to what they had done, honestly, when I happened to sign on to take a peek at American Truck Simulator, which that was certainly sheer luck versus intention, because as I know I shared in early videos or early episodes, I have known about this game for really almost 2 years before I finally looked it up. And it just happened to be over the holidays at the end of 2020 here that, been home and had some days off, was like, let me take a look at this thing, because I enjoy driving, I support the
Keep left.
trucking industry. But yeah, like right now, sorry, I'm going to digress. This is, you absolutely, you recall, was horrendous for the graphics, as we came here through Salt Lake and all the buildings and the skyline on the left that we just passed. We're going to have this interchange that was always terrible to render, was constantly slowing us down.
Keep left.
So we're absolutely going to gain some time. It's just a question of, where are we really going to end? But I think it's pretty safe to say we're going to be below 2 hours. It's just a question of how far. And, the last video was, I think, 2 hours and 5 minutes. So, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if Artesia's further than Socorro or not. But anyway, so yeah, now I'm back into that same point where I'm not clear what I was talking about. I think we were past the miles per gallon and this and that, but oh yeah, discovering ATS, and then I played the demo, and that's kind of what convinced me, like, yeah, this is a game I definitely will enjoy, so I'll go ahead and spend some money on it. And because of the holidays, they happen to have a sale. So with the Iberia release, which is Spain and Portugal, and European Truck Simulator 2, they, I guess, made the decision, a wise one, because it certainly got me to behave in a way I'm sure they were going for, was they put a demo version of ETS2 out, which I came across and was like, oh, they hadn't had that, because I had looked once I was enjoying American Truck Simulator. I'm like, well, European's certainly different. Let me take a look at that. And similarly, I kind of was looking for that same experience that I think a lot of the other YouTubers for ATS tend to not be from the US. One of the
right,
ones that has a
and
really
then
good
exit
following,
right.
Squirrel, I think is, in the UK or somewhere.
Exit right.
But definitely, oh goodness gracious. But his initial videos and his trucking diary that I watched and enjoyed. So yeah, the traffic light is up there. We can see that. So yeah, this definitely is a vastly different experience through this span than we're used to. The light's there, the light's green. This again would have been a stutter as we crossed the bridge. But anyway, in the start of his videos, there was just all this commentary about, not understanding the signs, the rules, and so forth, even though he had been, he had talked about traveling to the US on vacation or on holiday a couple times, and, but maybe he didn't drive himself or whatever, or just wasn't, having all the experiences, but certainly even turning right on red, for example. I remember him just talking about how, in European Truck Simulator, obviously you can't do that because you can't do that in Europe. And so it's been taking him a long time. He still had a difficulty being used to that. And so similarly, that there was a little bit of that draw for me of, asides from, I think Europe's beautiful and would probably be a real joy to drive through. And it's also something I haven't experienced, just like those folks who aren't in the U.S. don't experience the day-to-day commonalities of driving in the U.S. I don't have that experience from being in Europe, so there was that definite draw of, I'd like to do that. I'm not familiar with the signage. I'm not familiar with the traffic laws. I'm certainly not familiar with the road network and so forth as I am here in the U.S. And so when I saw the demo, I'm like, oh, absolutely, I'm going to try it. I played, I guess I would say, further than I did in American Truck Simulator. And I say that because I actually got to the point where the demo gave me the, Seinfeld soup Nazi, no soup for you treatment, and basically said, this demo's done. Like, if you want to do anything else, buy the game. Oh, there we go. Here comes a train off to the right. And we can hear it now. And I had never gotten to that point in the American Truck Simulator demo before I had gone ahead and decided to buy it. Now, once again, the reality of what was happening there was, at the time the American Truck Simulator demo was available, they were also running the discount on the game. And I think that the end was coming up, because I think it was just going to end like the day after, a couple days after Christmas. And I think I think I had started, because if I recall, I didn't start playing until like the day after Christmas, or maybe it was Christmas Day or something, that I decided to download it and give it a shot. But I wasn't in there very long, and then because I could purchase the game on sale, was like, well, I certainly don't want to miss the sale if I want to do this, because Steam was pretty heavily discounting everything, including the map packs and so forth, which, again, I think I talked about in a previous episode. I was able to kind of get everything for about 33% of what it would have cost if I had bought them all at full price. And so, I played the demo, played it to the end, which, honestly didn't probably take much longer than I had gotten in ATS. It's just I didn't have the option at that point. Everything on Euro Truck was full price at that point, which, not that I have any issue paying full price, but if I don't need to, I was going to take advantage of the opportunity. I'll just be patient and I'll wait for it to go on sale again. Well, as luck would then have it, and really not luck, it's marketing department planning and strategy that resulted in it. Was they had a developers or publishers weekend coinciding with the Iberia release on April 8th. And so for 3 or 4 days, they were putting everything in Eurotruck on a similar discount to what I had experienced in American Truck Simulator. And so at that point, I knew, yep, I really like this game. I'd already kind of said when it's on sale, I'll go ahead and get it. And so I pulled the trigger on that. And same kind of thing. All the map packs were discounted, other than Iberia, which was a new release, was the full price. Which for Euro Truck Simulator, the map packs are $17.99, where the pricing on American Truck Simulator had been $11.99. So it is kind of interesting that now Iberia is large. My understanding is it's the largest map pack that has been released in ETS. But looking back at the pricing on the older ones, they were still $17.99. So, which does honestly make me think as we're talking. Another thing we had covered in one episode was the whiners talking about, oh, they better not charge more for Texas, just because it's bigger. Where some of us were like, it's okay. If it's more work, it's more work. So we're okay paying more. But it makes me wonder now that, Iberia sounds, and I don't know if the magnitude was the same, that it was, as it is, how much bigger Texas is than the other states in the U.S., and therefore how much more work it will be. If they align between, hey, Iberia was X amount more complicated than, say, France or Italy, which were previous map packs that had come out, then there were other kind of bundles that were multiple countries because they were smaller, kind of when you were out in the eastern side and Latvia and, those previous Soviet republics. They weren't released individually. They were released as a pack of 4 or 5 countries together, I think. But, again, it really ended up being a steal, frankly, because I think all told, with the Iberia map pack at the full price of $17.99, I was able to get everything for Euro Truck Simulator for, I think, $51 and change. It was, again, the cost of just one base console game. And I've got, a game, 3 or 4, 5 map packs, and, a couple extra things. And just like an ATS here, I think I've gotten like a wheel tuning pack and a cabin accessories pack that, it came in the bundles that when I bought the game, and they were, I think, 49 cents at the discount level. But I think even non-discounted, they were like $1. So they weren't expensive either way. But I've never taken advantage of the fact that I have those. And so there's a couple of those, whether they're paint schemes or other things. I mean, there is, the download, the different cargo, like special transport and so forth, which I certainly would have wanted, and that, I do have as well in Euro Truck Simulator. But so that is a roundabout way of explaining how I got to the point where basically then I've been spending a significant amount of time in Euro Truck, really enjoying the heck out of that, honestly. And so that's kind of why I've had the situation where I haven't driven these stretches here in ATS on the new machine, because the only thing that I did was just pop over, because the other thing I started experimenting with, and that I did begin on my old machine, but really, with the intent that I knew my new machine was coming, and that I just was like, hey, let me check this out. So I had heard of this group, Pro Mods, that my understanding was really prevalent in the Euro Truck side.
Right.
And so since
and then exit right.
Since I had gotten into that and gotten to enjoy that, I was like, well,
right.
Let me see what this is, because, hey, it sounds like it's professional given their name. And it certainly is,
right.
from what I've seen, but I've only begun to scratch the surface of it. But the other thing that I found out, which I was not aware of, because I really thought Pro Mods was ETS focused, but they actually had an ATS mod, Pro Mods Canada, which starts to add a little bit of Canada. It's just the southern end of British Columbia above Washington State. And so that is what I had loaded in ATS. And I started a new profile to just have that on there instead of adding it to one of my existing profiles in case A, I didn't like it, or, worst case scenario, it made it, basically destroyed my profile and made me have to delete and start over. So I didn't want to take a chance that a mod would be problematic. And so, in the prudent manner, I went ahead and, sorry, I'm just trying to talk and set my speed appropriately at the same time. And yeah, I actually should be pulling off here. I've been talking so much, I haven't been paying attention to daylight and so forth. So yeah, next gas rest combo will do our thing. So,
Go straight on.
but yeah, so I added the mod for Canada and was trying that, and so that's why I had started the new profile and, you know, drove a few things there. I haven't gotten up to the section that ProMods adds, but oh goodness, I pushed it so far that my driver's actually tired, so I really pushed this to the edge. Okay, I see gas, but again, I think that's just gas and no rest spot, so I'm not gonna make 2 stops here, given that I'm just on roads, because I don't really need to be doing that. I know there's going to be combinations coming up, and I'm not out of gas yet. Now, if I run into a situation where, hey, I'm really looking at a rest penalty, then I'll certainly have to change my tune, but I'm hopeful in a couple hours, maybe we're down to, we still haven't even hit 2 hours, so yeah, I'm pretty confident we'll hit something where I can both fuel up and rest. So, but so yeah, I was just driving ATS more to start getting to the point, like, hey, you know, where I'm at the game in the profile, like I am here, because what I believe that will then give me is the ability to go a little bit further and maybe start to hit 2,000 plus mile journeys because of those additions of British Columbia in there, where right now this tends to be the longest that I have available to me, is, you know, not quite 1,800, although I'm pretty sure in other profiles I think I've driven like a 1,900 plus mile run before. We're just not happening to get it in the cities we've unlocked, that it's given us that. So, but that, I think, is in a profile where I have, I think, 41% of the map explored. So significantly more than we've got here, which I think we're still in the 20s. No, not even 16.87%. So, so yeah, but that profile again, that was different than what I'm doing here. Because first off, I bought a truck pretty quickly. That's actually one of the first profiles I started with. And so I had bought a truck. And again, when you own a truck, the process is different. Like here, I can kind of start anywhere because I'm a driver for hire. And, you know, so, hey, I started in Washington State. My next run, I may start in California, for example. It won't be the case because that's just not how it works. But, you know, when you're driving your own truck, you know, given that this is a reality sim, you know, now that I'm dropping off at Artesia, for example, like I'd be picking up a load in Artesia more than likely, and if not Artesia, it would be in a town very, very close. And so what that creates is situations where, yeah, you may be still taking the longest distance, but again, in that profile, I wasn't necessarily. I was being newer to the game. I was more interested in, hey, let me just go places I haven't gone, and so I would take runs that basically gave me the most new discoveries because I wanted to see as much of the map as I could, as opposed to maximizing my progress, other than in seeing more of the map. But you know, I wasn't maximizing my leveling. So in there, I believe, yes, I've been able to drive further which is interesting, but maybe because, like, I know I have Bellingham unlocked there, which I don't know that I have here. And so that's some of it, because I'm sure that's another 100 miles at least. But let's see here, we've got gas and a rest stop, so let's take care of that as I start to yawn in real life.
Keep left and then turn left.
Made myself tired. Shoot. I realized as I started to turn, alright, well, I'm going to then rest, and then I'm going to fuel up, because I'm not going to like get damage to the boat to
Finding a new
make
route.
up for my stupidity. So there we go. Alright, 8 a.m. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And I'm not going to make that. I thought that would be the case. But again, it gives you a chance to see, just the detail on the piping, the fact that you can actually read the dynamite or whatever it is on the tires as the tire brand. Ooh, that truck's just floating in the air. That was fun.
Never mind. I'll find a new route.
You don't need to find a new route. I just need to get a better angle here on the gas pumps. Hi, Mr. Car. Alright. Ultimate. Must be BP. So the reality of just how this profile is progressing. We said we'd be repeating, but I didn't necessarily think we'd solely be repeating. I'm trying to clear that barrier in the back. Alright, I think oh goodness, have I created a hang up somewhere? No, thank God. Like, are we going to have a repeat of that one episode where I could not get out of the gas station? Thank goodness, no.
Keep left and then turn left.
So yeah, I mean, I knew we'd be repeating like this stretch right here that we're on, heading through Utah and Colorado, just because this diagonal is obviously the longest distance the game's going to give us. So I knew we'd get runs that really basically brought us through the same section of the country. But I don't know that I expected, and we'll see if it stays or not, the situation where we're literally starting at the same place and hauling the same cargo and, doing the same run. But, going back to just that situation, again, episode 13, the one just before this, we did the same thing. We started at Port Angeles both times, which you can do as a driver for hire, but as a owner-operator who would have your own truck, I really want to pass him, but I'm going to honor the no passing line here because I may suddenly be headlong into another vehicle. And so my hope is once we top out here, I'll be able to, I'm like way too close to be able to tell. There we go. All right, but there's a car coming, of course. And now he is speeding up, and oh boy. Well, this is the reality of driving a truck through this part of the country. Got behind Mr. Hay, and it's giving me some challenges. All right, we're going to try. Whoop, that's not going to work because we've got someone on the other side. Oh, that would have been really bad. Head-on crash with a police officer. As if a head-on crash isn't bad enough, but... Alright, one more try. Problem is we're going downhill, and he, of course, is moving. Now, he'll slow down usually. I mean, that's the one good thing. I do believe there's an AI behavior that kind of once you're starting to make the pass, they don't play the game like, sadly, happens in reality, where people, you're trying to pass them and they're mad, and they suddenly, even though you're passing them because they were going slow, now they're mad and they decide to race you and not let you pass them, and then you're, going 90 miles an hour to make the pass, or backing off, depending on what your feeling is at the time. But so all right,
Keep left and then turn left.
I was gonna say, are we gonna get flagged? Oh, we didn't. All right, so we get to actually make this turn. Oh no, we've done this in this profile. All right, I just saw that little bit that was not discoverable. I'm like, we've never gotten to do this. We'll finally get to. Now, we did miss our chance to get weighed again before we fueled up, so we won't know. I mean, we'll know a little bit, because if we're higher than 50,225 pounds, it still trends with that. But we'll see how long it takes before it has us weigh again, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to make it all the way to the... Ooh, I think I'm sticking out, so in theory he should stop, but... Yep. All right. Now this is the part I hate. Yeah, see, I'm like, they are going to stop, and then they make you kind of take an angle, which sometimes it causes you to run into them because you can't swing. Like if I had a larger trailer, I might have gotten hooked on that card that was to the left of me, because I suddenly had to move over to the left sooner because
go straight on.
That guy stopped, but didn't stop early enough. But otherwise you're kind of waiting there forever, which is kind of irritating. So when they do that, I tend to be like, yeah, I need to go. So yeah, we'll see. We're an hour and 22 minutes, basically, coming up on that here in Colorado. And then we'll be in New Mexico, which is our last state. So, like I said, so it's not like we're going to shave off, say half an hour off the video, but I'll just be curious to see where we come in. And maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised that I hadn't tortured you all with graphics things that I didn't know were adding huge blocks of time. And I'll find that it really wasn't as bad as it appeared, but we'll see. Because honestly, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if it takes another half hour, and then at that point, we'll have saved. I guess it still would be 12 minutes or so, but I'm pushing this and I really shouldn't be. I'm like turning the wheel really hard to not cross that lane, and I'm like, when I hit this turn at higher speed, I'm going to end up crashing, which I don't want to do. Beautiful valley, much easier to see, much better looking. Not really an equivalent in the world to, I suppose, if you have really bad vision and suddenly get glasses, I guess that would be the equivalent in the world of suddenly like, oh my god, I didn't know that's what that looked like. Because I did have, one of my daughters, sadly, and as a parent, it's a little bit, honestly, embarrassing. And I don't know that it's embarrassing, because it's not like I could see through her eyes, and I knew, but, when she was little, we didn't realize she had a vision problem, and she ended up, as she was learning how to ride a bike, because she hadn't quite gotten to school yet. So, it wasn't like, hey, she was trying to read a lot or whatever. And, the children's books we were reading at home, they have those gigantic words. So, obviously those weren't causing her problems. But, yeah, I was out helping her ride. She was learning to ride, and she rode right into a mailbox. And we were like, did you not see it? And, of course, she's crying and screaming. And you know, as a whatever 4-5-year-old, whatever age she was at that time, would do.
On.
So we never really got what I would consider an answer, and it didn't make us think of anything. But then she got to school, and you know, a little bit later, whenever that was, might have even been a year later or so. And you know, they do the eye exams here in the U.S. And they're like, yeah, you should probably have her checked out because she scored pretty low. We're pretty sure she needs glasses. And yeah, we went and took her in, and her vision was pretty bad. And it was to the point, like, when we went and, you know, got her glasses, and we're driving along, and she's just looking out the window, and like trees, she's like, oh, like they have, you know, she had never seen leaves before. To her, trees had just been these green blobs. And it made us feel horrible. Like, oh my God, she's like gone through years of her life, like not knowing what things look like. And so I do have that point of reference where I guess, yes, that would be similar, where, hey, I can't render the trees as I do now in high quality, and instead they're just, you know, green space. And obviously we weren't running it something that was doing that. And honestly, I think I did like test the game just to see what it looked like at the lowest video settings, and even then the trees still basically had leaves. But anyway, I don't understand. I'm on a side lane, there's no light there. Why does it give you a red light violation there? I've had that happen before. It's just really frustrating. I would say that's a bug in the game, but either way, we got $340,000 plus, so we'll take our $700 violation and frustration, but it's not going to cause us any real pain. And welcome to New Mexico. Alright, so hour and 26 minutes, 27 minutes, and we're in New Mexico, and then we just need to get to Artesia, which is down in the southeast corner, I believe. So it will take us a little bit, but I still think I'd be very surprised if we don't end up below 2 hours. But who knows? Maybe it hasn't been as bad as I thought in the other games. I guess I'm going way faster than I need to, and that speeding ticket will hurt.
Keep right,
so.
And then turn right.
I'm hoping. Guess I'll find out. I'm like, I don't know that. Yeah, obviously he is gone, but I was like, I don't know that car we just passed isn't right next to us in my blind spot, and I just can't see him. I think we're going to get a red light before we get up there. Yep. And yeah, the AI will do that, so you have to be prepared. But again, here I can turn on red, so I will happily do that. So
keep left and then turn left.
So yeah, we'll see, because I know this is
turn left
near Farmington here. And then we'll continue on. But yeah, you can't really see the reflection in the... There's nothing to reflect, I think, in the window here. I'm like, now that we're in town, and we're stopped, I can move the camera around, and maybe you can see... you can certainly see the reflection on the little piece of paint in the door jamb there between the doorpost. You can kind of see things blinking by on the road and
straight on.
So forth. So definitely things that wouldn't have been at such quality on the high video setting we were on. Alright, so I think I can speed up here. So yeah, I don't know that I kind of finished. So yeah, there were other things on the graphics. I talked about taking the scaling up to 400%, but beyond that, there are other settings that aren't necessarily up on Ultra, even though you select Ultra. And I think there were only one or two that I determined to tweak up that, like, I don't know, there was something with shadows, but I think the shadows themselves were pretty high, but there were a couple other things that I adjusted up, so, and I don't know that it entirely matters. I mean, obviously, you'll play with the settings on your system if you choose to play, and get them to a point that you enjoy, similar to, like I said, I had tweaked up the rear view mirror view all the way up to Ultra, which I think basically means nothing technically ever disappears from the rear view mirror. But, as you can see, I mean, things stay on there right now. As you watch the trucks that we're going to pass fade away, they're on there for quite a while. And at that point, they're so tiny anyway that, like, continuing to render them probably takes more horsepower, even though the system configuration has more than enough. Then it's worth, for the value you're getting. So we'll see. I was worried because, yeah, this is like the gas station that has you slow down to 50 just because there's the gas station there, and I'm like, it's going to be just my luck. There's going to be that's a police officer between those two trucks, and I'm going to get a speeding ticket, but I didn't. So cool beans. So yeah, so that kind of, over the course of this episode, obviously it's been scattered around amidst the other random thoughts popping in my head. But that, I think, gets you up to speed of basically the changes and the configuration and the settings that are involved in what you're seeing in this episode. So, and I think there were things like reflection quality and so forth that, again, could have gone up to Ultra, and I felt, what was there already was pretty darn good. And so I'm like, I'm not going to push things, but I will say, the tool that measures the frames per second and gives me the 60, it also measures, other key metrics on the computer. So CPU usage. I don't know that at this point I've ever seen it peak above 10%. So this is definitely not a massive CPU intensive game, which explains why I was able to run it more than adequately on a machine that was 10 years old. So, which again, like similar to this, where I spent, kind of toward the top end of what PCs ran 10 years ago, just to get longevity out of it. While it was a high-end processor at the time, or the latest processor similar to what this is, it's still pretty impressive. But this game in its current state, so again, it's not like I'm running an old game that is American Truck Simulator from 2015 or 2016, whenever it got released, and therefore isn't as resource intense. I'm running obviously the latest update 1.4 and maxed out, and it was at 10%. And then the video and the RAM, I think, were at like 40%. So once again, I still have plenty of headroom if I needed to do things. So, which is why I tested this and just said, hey, do I see anything? And rather than create some problems just for the sake of having everything way up, especially since when you pick Ultra, the developers themselves hadn't chosen to set those settings that high, to me was kind of like, well, sure, there are improvements, but even the developers themselves said, hey, if you're running our game at the top level, this setting's good enough, or this setting is what we would set. So that's kind of what my logic was, is things that I knew I could see, things that are in my forward view here, for example, even though the rear view mirrors are obviously somewhat not. I'm looking backwards, but obviously I'm looking forward at them. I went ahead and did that. And then there are, I'd say probably more settings than not, don't actually have an ultra option. The highest you can go is high. And there are several settings that are simply low
right,
or high.
and then turn right.
So you don't have sorry, I'm just again trying to pay attention to my traffic situation as I have to get over here. So there we go, heading down to Albuquerque. He's not turning, so we'll be waiting for the light cycle. I really don't have enough room to squeak by him on the shoulder. Nor with a truck do I want to do that, because we just passed a sign. We're going to end up clipping the sign if I do that. So we'll just wait. I'm somewhat trying to artificially shorten the video and prove to myself that, yeah, we're going to come in way faster. But now as we're driving, I guess. The good news is, as I said, for the fact that I'm verifying maybe I wasn't torturing you guys as bad as I thought I was. I don't know that we're going to save that much time on this video, honestly. So, because again, that 205 is with parking. So, I'm obviously going to go ahead and finish everything out to do an apples to apples comparison, and we'll see where things end up. But at this point, taking another 15 minutes at least would not be surprising to me, because we're only in Albuquerque, which is kind of in the center of the state. Technically, we're not there yet. We have to get to that crazy interchange, which I think is right up there, that's just come into view. But but then we're kind of through it there. So I think we head towards Santa Rosa.
Keep left.
Yep. So I was going to say, I think Gallup we hit when we, I'm going to hit the brake. That was a bit much. And I think that was also because, I was set it when we could go 70. Excuse me. And,
keep left.
It dropped to 65 on that ramp, so I was pushing at 10 miles an hour. Whoop. You're awfully brave doing that in front of a truck. Sorry about that. Yawning. So, that would have been bad, having a spill right there, then get towed. Would have completely eliminated my ability to see if I was saving any time here, because that would have obviously created a situation we didn't have before. So thank goodness we were able to hold on to that. But now what I was saying is, it wouldn't surprise me if we're at least 15 minutes away from being done. So if there will be time savings, it's not going to be as massive as I was thinking at one point, when I thought we were half an hour or more ahead. But I don't think so. And some of that can be simply because, like down here, we weren't getting a lot of stutter. It was actually doing pretty well. The main difference now with the new system is just the quality of the video. But the graphic flow really wasn't as impacted. Because, you will see, like, I noticed that bus appeared kind of on the overpass right in the middle. We didn't see it moving all the way up. So having the faster machine isn't eliminating the fact that things aren't necessarily rendering fully And I don't think, given the stats I just gave you, that it's gee, the PC's maxed out and it can't do anything, and so it didn't put that bus on there. I think it's just however the algorithm works, things appeared, but there may have been a little bit of a delay. Oops, go a little faster. So, but even though things are popping in, usually when that would happen, it would be after a pause in progress, where the video would freeze and suddenly it'd be like, oh, we're moving again, and hey, that bus just popped in, so it must have been loading that bus or something. But even though it does a little bit of that here and there, and you'll see things kind of suddenly pop in, not realistically, they just suddenly appear, it's not causing any kind of a stutter in the video, which is nice from an experience standpoint. I'm sure both you watching it, but certainly me experiencing it and interacting directly with the game. So, but yeah, I mean, the summation of this is, definitely pleased I was able to go ahead and upgrade my machine. Where in the beginning, just being that I'm pretty frugal as it is, I'm like, it's working, why do I need one? But my wife was encouraging me, hey, you haven't done anything in a long time, kind of splurging on yourself, go ahead, it doesn't hurt to have another PC. A little bit of a hiccup there, but again, you've got trucks on the side here and there, and that was literally, again, a split second type thing, and that was only the second one that I've noticed in our entire trip, which is substantially less than we would have had other places. Okay, so this is Santa Rosa, and this will be the last kind of final stretch, because now we're off the interstate per se.
Keep right, and then turn right.
Yeah, because now, we're going to take this road. Now I'm recalling where we're at. So yeah, we're going to go here, and then this takes us down to the 2 or 3 cities that we need to get to. So yeah, so we'll see where we end up. Obviously, I have nothing else to talk about but that, because I keep repeating myself, but again, I can't promise anything else unless I just start, reading off text while I'm driving, like prepared remarks, and, go with the teleprompter route and, come up with, we're going to educate you on tadpoles today or something. I don't know. Tumbleweeds, which we haven't seen. I haven't seen tumbleweeds in the new rendering. That'll be fun. Because at this point, given the length of this drive, we've kind of experienced all the terrain, all the differences there. Slow down a bit more again. Here's that little pull-off. So, and again, I don't know if it's simply just the improved graphics or if it does something substantially different, but I would say the cloud patterns and the clouds and the weather in general seem to look significantly different as well. That kind of jumped out at me early on too when I fired this up and just took a look for the first time. Because definitely you can start to see, it's 4 p.m. So you can start to see the shadows on the, on the vegetation, even the short bushes. All right, so we're going to have to go to the way station that's straight ahead here with that wonderful crossing that we so love because nobody stops. All right, nobody coming that way, but not so much luck here. Are you going to let me go, you little... You are, but again, just barely. I swear, they just pull up like absolutely the worst they can, so... let's see. So we should be,
When
we'd have more
possible,
gas.
make a U-turn.
We have more gas than we've ever had, so let's see. But we're less weight than we've ever been, so the sim's not entirely accurate. Look at that, we've got a viewpoint. I've not seen a viewpoint in beautiful high quality, so we'll let this go a little bit just to see what we see. Pretty nice parking lot. Great Texaco station. This is really a viewpoint. The city of Vaughn. Is it just showing us how desolate it is? I don't understand. I don't see a city. Ah, there we go. The American Mall. There's some people too, because we have pedestrians on. Alright. So we're gonna skip the cutscene, frankly, again, because I want to get a good gauge of what our time really is for a similar trip. And so yeah, we probably added 30 seconds with that cutscene, so not enough to matter, but usually if you let them run the full amount, I think they're a couple minutes, 3 minutes sometimes, depending on what they are, so.
Turn right.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I recall I need to go to the right here, but little FedEx van, alright. I know I'm probably sticking out. I think I have a bigger nose on this truck than I think I do, even though I can't really see it. Alright, we'll get ourselves going here. Obviously, yeah, stopping at the way station, but those happen, so, it's not like we passed all the way stations last time and didn't have to stop, so while we may not have stopped at this one, and doing so obviously extends the time because I have to accelerate, I have to stop, you know what it is. Preaching to the choir of human beings who understand how time works. But anyway, so yeah, we probably spent 2 minutes, 3 minutes there all told. Longer than it may have been if it had just let us turn left and continue. But we're also pretty darn close here, so wouldn't surprise me if around 1 minute and 50 seconds into this, about 3 minutes from now, if we're pulling into town already. I just don't remember if Artesia is one we have to go through Roswell, which again could add stuff where I think Socorro was up north, and maybe we'll take a peek like once we're done in what it is, because frankly I'm just trying to explain why it's taking as long as it is, because I thought it would give us more time, but I'm starting to wonder. I'm thinking this is actually a longer drive than the last one, so coming in similar in time but adding another 100 200 miles to the trip is probably certainly shows that there's some significant savings here with the video too, so but we'll see. It seems we have more traffic this time, although I'm wondering, because I did have to reset some of the settings moving to the new machine, even though the profile, I found a way to move them over, so most of the settings were there, but I wonder if, although I don't know that I had decreased the traffic density, I had just decreased the incident occurrence rate, but that was it, so yeah.
Go straight on.
So I don't know what it is, but yeah, here we go. I think we go under that overpass, and then I think we're in town for the most part, or in a town. Just don't know that we're in the town we're going to. Yep, Roswell and Clovis. So I do think we have to go through Roswell, which that will take a bit of time because we're going to have all the traffic lights. So that we certainly didn't need to deal with either. And that will extend things a bit, so anyway. this point, either way, it's going to be what it's going to be. So let's just go with it. So we've got an IHOP. It is nice, I mean, it's pretty impressive that the phone lines, as you can see, they're pretty much perfect at this point. They don't, even as you pass them by, there isn't any artifacting as you go by. For some reason, I felt like I was going backwards. I'm like looking at that arrow next to me. I'm like, no, I'm not. But wow, there was that weird sensation there. So yeah, I guess the other thing, and maybe now that I'm wondering, I did end up, because I think I shared, we've repurposed the old PC to kind of do a job that it was doing already, but now it's kind of exclusively doing that job, which is basically acting as a DVR for our household. But with that, since I'm still using the old machine, I needed. Darn, I was trying to get through that light. I was speeding up, but it didn't work. So I needed another monitor is ultimately what ended up happening. So I did get a new monitor from Dell. And once again, while trying to be frugal, but not trying to be stupid, frankly, wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to get a high-end PC for gaming and then get a monitor that potentially lowered your experience because, frame rate or refresh rate on the monitor. So it is what they call a gaming monitor. Once again, it's not a Alienware monitor, which you can get from Dell for, I think they were like $350. But this one was, I think, about half that. I think it was $175, and
go straight on.
It's got a refresh rate, of 144 hertz, which I think the old one had like 50 or 60. Plus, it's a 24-inch instead of a 22, so it obviously fills my field of vision a bit more. And I'm just wondering if, again, because we had been moving, and the clouds do move a little, as you can tell, which is nice. I mean, so they're like actually scrolling from left to right. If you're looking at the light post, you can see the slight movement. And sometimes they move faster in the game. But that was one of the things, like when I first loaded it, I don't know that I had noticed, like if the clouds were moving before. I don't know that I had seen it prior to the new machine. So I don't know if that's an ultra setting or, once again, I just had never seen it. But it jumped out at me like immediately when I fired up the new one, because the clouds were moving substantially faster where I was at, and just sitting in the yard, there was a lot of things around, and I'm like, holy moly, the clouds are moving. And I had not experienced that in the game before either. So yeah, I don't know if the larger monitor and so forth, where it's more realistic and the higher frame rate, where my brain is really starting to kind of accept yeah, you're really doing this in real life versus you're viewing this on a screen. If that's what gave me that odd sensation when we stopped of like, wait a minute, now I'm moving backwards. But I wasn't, so.
Go straight on.
So yeah, so the Roswell lights definitely messed up the plan there, because yeah, I think it took 4 minutes to get through Roswell there. Where once again, otherwise we would have, been much further down the road in that time. So, but we will take a look at what we see when we finally get there. But yeah, I think at this point, so Artesia is, pretty sure we've been to Artesia in this profile, but it is, the farthest east city, southeast city I think we can go to. because Clovis was a little bit south of Roswell and not as far east as Artesia is, so. Because I think it's Roswell, Clovis, and Artesia that kind of make up this little triangle down here in the bottom of New Mexico in the game, so. And I believe it's slowing us down because we are there, Artesia city limit, and there is our drop-off point. So at this point, I'm beginning to think we might not be any shorter than the previous episode, but that may be, again,
Turn left.
for various reasons. So we've been to Artesia because it was discovered, but clearly we're going somewhere we've not been because now we're going on undiscoverable roads. But yeah, between, getting through Roswell and the streetlights, which now if we get stopped by a train, hopefully we won't. But I was going to say, we definitely had things that we wouldn't have had on the way to Socorro, because Socorro's really, I think,
Get ready
right off
to
the
turn
interstate. I still, I know we
Turn
saved
right.
time, just logically we had to have because we didn't have the video stutters we did, so. But I don't know, we're physically not going to have saved as much time because,
Turn right.
we're gonna, because yeah, this is probably, it looks like the hard parking job as well, which is gonna take a little while.
Your route guidance is now
So
finished.
it's probably gonna take me 10 minutes to park, so we might have a video that's similar in length here, but anyway, we will see. Because at this point, we just need to get this bad boy back where they want it. Say, I'm trying to cut it, but not cut it too tight so that I hit that, and I don't think I did. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this quite as smoothly as it appears right now, but who knows? This could be like the greatest parking job I have ever done on this game. Wow, it may actually be. That is amazing. I don't know, I guess let's not count my chickens before they hatch, but that was pretty sweet. And it's continuing to look that. I'm not going to hit the front. Wow. Alright. The thing is, I think I'm going to have to reposition. I don't think it's going to give me the ding. I think I'm too far over. But we'll see. I'm going to give it a shot. Nope, it is not. So, not quite as wonderful as I was hoping. I was going to say I need to see better because I'm pretty sure I can get over more. Alright. Whoops. Wrong way, and with such a short distance, I don't want to give anything away that I don't need to. But yeah, this should be good this way. Absolutely. And there we go. And now you'll see the decoupling, and then we're immediately there, which again, I think everyone remembers the painful refresh. So 1,700 miles, 4,600 experience, pretty good. Leveled up again. So, go ahead. I'm just going to finish that out just to eliminate that possibility of something's not showing up because it's further than 2,500 miles, but that would amaze me. So, clear that out. And I think we did finish the other video pretty fast, but let's